Mr. Lehman, if you knew that you were going to have a more extensive examination done of the property at the time, why had you not already made plans to get that taken care of within the 21-day time frame?
It was complicated by the fact that I needed my sister-in-law, Frances, who was going to occupy the property, to take up residence there because she was living in a home that I had to sell as a requirement of the trust. And we needed somebody who actually would take the time to go through the property and examine each of the things that I have presented in my pictures to let us know what the actual property damages were.
But that's your job, isn't it, as the landlord, as the trustee?
I think I was entitled to rely on my sister-in-law's description of what she found when she moved in.
You had the right if you wanted, but you only had 21 days to do it.
I did miss the 21 days, not intentionally, but I missed it.
You're not a landlord by trade, right?
No.
You just kind of found yourself in this position?
That's true.
All right. You're saying now that you needed more than 21 days.
I did.
Why? What are you saying?
Because the damage was so extensive.
Okay. I got to show you some of these pictures.
Okay.
Because I think the word extensive is really one of the problems here. This place looks pretty good for some tenants that have occupied it for 8 years, I got to tell you.
These pictures don't prove anything except Mr. Trousseau took some pictures that are very favorable to his point of view.
Well, but this is where we get into extensive damage. Because I got to tell you, I had apartments when I was young for a year that I left in much worse condition than this, and nobody would have called it extensive damage. So this is your first photograph.
Yes.
You're talking about after 8 years, you've got a little bit of crinkle in the blinds, correct?
Well, I would object to your characterization. It's more than a little bit of crinkle.
Well, you're allowed to object since you're representing yourself here today, but I'm allowed to overrule your objection. You really believe this is extensive damage?
You know, you'll have to excuse my choice of words. If you're uncomfortable with extensive,
I am.
Offer another word that covers the kind of damage these
How about
pictures
minimal,
represent.
minor?
No, that would not be acceptable to me.
Were these holes left in the wall?
Yep. They're nail holes.
There's one nail hole at the bottom.
These are holes from cable TV.
It's a cable hole for the cable TV.
For the cable TV.
And here you have the door that was sealed up with a plastic bag.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because Mr. Trousseau had rented out the upper part of the property on Airbnb, which was in violation of the lease. That door was sealed up to accommodate more than one family staying in the upstairs.
Did you rent the place out on Airbnb?
So, ma'am, when we moved in, actually, we had a discussion about it with deceased Miss Poppy, and I asked her about the extra rooms so we could possibly rent them out, and she said yes. That was the only reason we even rented a 3-bedroom house for ourselves.
Did she give them permission?
Absolutely not.
How do you know that she did not?
Because I had extensive discussions with her about the property and how I was to handle its disposition after she passed.
Let me ask you a couple of questions, sir. What do you do for a living?
So I'm in real estate. I do property management.
I see. And you claim that you had a conversation with a woman who's now deceased, and she gave you permission to rent out the remainder of the bedrooms pursuant to Airbnb. Is that correct?
Yes.
How long was it after you signed the lease that she give you this permission?
Oh, that was before signing of the lease.
Before signing of the lease?
That was part of the agreement.
And doesn't the lease indicate that any previous oral conversations would fall by the wayside after the lease?
Yes, true.
And did you read paragraph 15 of the lease, which says that the tenant may not assign or sublet the premises?
Sure, yeah, I did read it. And we weren't subletting it all the time. It was just
Did you modify the apartment?
No, we put a door between the kitchen and the second living room. We have done that.
Did the deceased give you permission to make these modifications?
For the door, no.
Mr. Lehman, you allege that they modified the premises in order to enhance subletting capacity. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What proof do you have of the costs that you incurred to remove? You call it a wall, and does the plaintiff call it a door?
They added some kind of a structure to put
partition?
to fit in a door. That door was never there. It had to be removed.